Hello everyone, and welcome to our series on understanding the toxic workplace and toxic relationships. Today, we're diving into a very crucial topic that affects many of us. That is, recognizing the signs of a toxic workplace. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting your career, understanding these signs is extremely essential for your well-being and your success. So before we get started, as usual, we'd request you to subscribe to our channel and click the subscribe button as soon as you can. Let's start by understanding why this topic is extremely important. We spend a significant portion of our lives at work, and it is important that this environment is healthy and positive. But how do you know if your workplace is toxic? So in this series, we're going to explore the key indicators that can help you to identify if you are in a toxic work environment. But before we get to that, I'm going to tell you a story. And this story is going to be very important to you because this is a true story. And this encompasses my experiences of working in a toxic workplace. Let's talk about my ex-boss. Let's call her Lady Highness. This lady that you see, she was my ex-boss in my previous organization. She still is head of HR in this firm in Bahrain. She makes tall claims on how she's a people's person, and how she behaved was extremely contradictory to what she says and to what she claims. Well, now let's just assume that I, for once, believed what she said and assumed that she was a savior when she came on board. And like most new bosses do, she manipulated me and the rest of the team to actually believe in what she was saying, and we all ended up trusting what she said. She came on board, she encouraged us to talk about our outgoing boss in a very negative fashion. Now, she and the CEO actually suspected that I was doing something illegal behind their backs. Let me give you some context over here. So back in 2019, I actually started making content online to help people empower them and to teach them and coach them. However, as a content maker, I had nothing to do with my ongoing job back then, or very little to do. But nonetheless, these people ended up suspecting that I was actually doing something illegal. And my CEO thought that he and she, my boss, should plot together, go behind my back and find out what I was doing. So things like they would add me on LinkedIn and they would go behind and see what I was posting. Right? Now, how do I know this? Because this lady disconnected me or removed me from my connections on LinkedIn as soon as I left the organization. So it was clear that there was an objective and there was reason to do so, for connecting with me on LinkedIn. Right? Now, they wanted to see what I was doing online, but there was nothing available. There was no evidence. And clearly, I told them that I was not going to be leaking any information behind. But that turned out against me. And whether you believe it or not, I was always told that there are a lot of confidential information, although nothing was actually very confidential. Now, if there is confidential information and I would be putting that online, would I be the bigger idiot here? Well, she turned her back on me and she was key in me leaving my previous organization. She manipulated everything I did and made all my activities seem like grave mistakes. Now, why are we speaking about this in context? It is very important to understand how toxic bosses and leaders behave, because this series is about exploring that, and at every instance I plan to give you examples of how toxicity works at the workplace and how it affects your mental health and well-being. But it was at the peak of COVID that I actually realized what was going on in the organization. It was pretty evident that they actually wanted me to leave, and when they wanted me to leave, they started manipulating even more. And I vowed that this story will be told, and that's exactly what I'm doing today. Telling you stories of identifying what workplace politics looks like or what toxicity looks like. And my decision to tell the story was often deterred by a lot of people. Right. I'll tell you why this is so significant. During COVID, I happened to lose 5 members in my family. I also happened to lose a newborn niece who was 1 month old in my family. And I was here in Bahrain, where I reside, was not able to go back home to even visit my family. And guess what they were worried about? They were worried about spelling mistakes in some content we had developed. And that is when I realized, what is toxicity all about? And if I don't dare to tell the story outside, there are many people like me who are suffering in workplace politics. They cannot talk about their bosses. They cannot talk about their leaders. They cannot talk about toxicity in their workplace. But I, for myself, had to free myself out of that to tell you the story today. So let's delve into each of these instances. And from there on, we're going to talk about every example, how I'm going to connect workplace toxicity. Right. So what are the points and indicators? Number one, poor communication. One of the first signs of a toxic workplace is poor communication. Are you constantly left in the dark about important decisions? Do you find it challenging to express your thoughts without fear of retribution? Lack of transparency and open communication can be detrimental to your professional well-being. When you ask them for information, they will always tell you it's confidential. What a whole lot of bullshit. Number two, excessive micromanagement. Next up, excessive micromanagement. While some of the supervision is necessary, being micromanaged can stifle creativity and make you feel undervalued. If every move of yours is scrutinized and you're not given the autonomy to perform your tasks, it might be the red flag. My CEO would want to know every damn thing that I was doing in my workplace and would interfere in every decision, therefore crippling my authority. Now, this is not what the millennials and the Gen Zs want. They hate to be micromanaged. Number three, high turnover rates. Pay attention to the turnover rates of employees in your organization. If people are leaving and joining at a higher rate, then there's definitely an issue. And there are deeper issues within the company or the team. And this dissatisfaction is a lack of employee engagement. Number four, unhealthy work-life balance. There were days I was told that if I do not spend the number of hours that they want me to or finish a deadline, I would be fired. Now, is that inspiration or manipulation? Workplace balance is extremely important, and if your work demands high working hours without any compensation or recognition, it can contribute to a burnout and negatively impact your personal life. Number five, lack of recognition and appreciation. Do you feel like your hard work goes unnoticed? A lack of recognition and appreciation can lead to job dissatisfaction. In a toxic workplace, employees feel undervalued and overwhelmed, and decreased morale and productivity. Number six, bullying and harassment. How do you know this? Perhaps one of the most severe signs is bullying and harassment. If you or your colleagues experience mistreatment, whether verbal, physical, or emotional, it's crucial to address these issues promptly. No one should tolerate a toxic environment that fosters such behavior. Now, how do we know that? What kind of bullying actually leads to that? If they come and tell you you're going to be losing your job, or the CEO is not happy with your performance, or that you have to remain on your toes all the time, this is clearly signs of bullying. And this was what was told to me almost every other day, because they simply thought that I was not performing and yet retained me in the organization for over 6 years. Number seven, resistance to change. A toxic workplace often resists positive change. If your organization is stuck in outdated practices and unwilling to adapt, it can hinder professional growth and innovation. Embracing change is essential for staying competitive and creating a healthy work environment. As we explore this series, this is just the beginning and the chapter 1 of the series. We'll be looking at 5 such modules. But as I conclude in this module, I want you to know that recognizing signs of the toxic workplace is the first step towards creating positive change in your professional life. If you resonate with any of the points we discussed today, it might be time to evaluate your situation and consider seeking support. Remember, your well-being is a priority, and there are steps you need to take to improve your work environment. If you found this video really helpful, then we urge you to share this with many other people. And of course, don't forget to subscribe, because the series that are going to be published are going to be extremely useful to you and to any person. So if you have any personal experiences, we would like you to share in the comments and tell us what you think about working in a toxic workplace. I'll be seeing you in the next video, where we'll be talking about how to identify a toxic leader. And until then, keep watching, keep sharing.